I built my boutique clothing business from nothing. My name is Rebecca Mitchell. I'm 34 years old. Last summer, I watched my entire life savings disappear in a single morning. The money vanished while we were gathered at our family lake house in Northern Oregon. $100,000 gone, not by accident, not by market crash, but by betrayal from within my own family. I checked my phone during breakfast. The banking app showed zero across all accounts. Zero in business, zero in savings, zero in checking. I felt my heart stop for 3 seconds, then restart with panic. Across the porch, my sister-in-law Natalie smirked. "We needed it more than you," she said, as if draining my life's work was justified. I gripped my phone so tight my knuckles went white. "Then you won't mind what happens next," I replied. I've always been the responsible one. Our parents ran a modest stationery shop outside Seattle. They taught me about profit margins before I learned algebra. I started saving money at 14. My brother David preferred spending his on cars and parties. After college, I earned my degree in computer engineering. I took a safe job at a tech firm in Seattle. The salary was good. The benefits were excellent. The work was soul-crushing. 3 years in, I quit. I launched a startup building automation tools for small online retailers. The first year was brutal. 18-hour days, instant ramen for dinner. Every dollar went back into the business. No vacations, no new clothes, no distractions. The company found its footing in year 2. I built custom software that helped boutique owners manage inventory, track shipping, and automate marketing. Nothing glamorous, just practical solutions that save people time and money. The accident happened on a Tuesday. A semi-truck crossed the center line on Interstate 5. Both our parents died instantly. I buried myself in code. David spiraled into depression. We grieved differently. We grew apart. 6 months after the funeral, David introduced us to Natalie. She had glossy black hair and a confident smile. She claimed to be a crypto investment expert. They married after dating for half a year. The wedding was inexplicably lavish. Natalie had a commanding presence. She spoke with authority about blockchain technology and decentralized finance. She sold online courses priced at $3,000 each. She hosted webinars with thousands of viewers. Her Instagram showed exotic vacations and designer outfits. From our first meeting, she made it clear my work wasn't impressive. Selling software tools to Etsy shops, she laughed once. Real money flows through digital assets. David began parroting her opinions. The brother I knew disappeared a little more each month. That summer at the lake house should have been my celebration. I'd just secured $500,000 in seed funding. I'd set aside $50,000 for a new office space in downtown Portland. I was ready to hire my first 3 employees. Natalie arrived in a new Tesla. She wore a watch worth more than my car. She dominated every conversation with investment jargon and name-dropped famous tech investors. David stood beside her like a shadow, watching her for approval before speaking. The first night, I noticed something off. My laptop had been moved slightly on the desk. The charging cable was plugged into the wrong port. Small details most people wouldn't notice. I noticed. That night, my phone lit up with alerts. Multiple login attempts from an unrecognized device. Someone trying to access my accounts. I enabled 2-factor authentication. I changed passwords. I locked my equipment in the trunk of my car. Still, something felt wrong. I woke up early and checked emails. A payment to my supplier had bounced. Impossible. I had more than enough to cover it. I opened my banking app and felt my stomach drop. Business account, $0. Savings account, $0. Checking account, $0. I walked downstairs with my phone in hand. The family was gathered for breakfast. I showed them my screen with the empty accounts. The room fell silent. Everyone looked shocked. Everyone except Natalie. She looked mildly annoyed, like I'd interrupted an important conversation. "What did you do?" I asked her directly. She shrugged. "Sounds like a banking error," but her eyes showed calculation, not concern. David jumped to defend her, but his voice wavered. His eyes darted around the room, avoiding mine. I threatened to call police. Natalie's demeanor changed instantly. Her voice softened. She suggested we handle this privately. She mentioned technical mistakes and temporary liquidity issues, words designed to confuse and delay. I didn't wait. I dialed 911. The police arrived 27 minutes after my call. 2 officers, not 1. They took initial statements while we all remained seated. Nobody left the room. Natalie maintained perfect composure. Too perfect. I provided account numbers, transaction timestamps, login records from the banking app. The officers made notes, but explained this would likely involve financial crimes specialists. They asked us all to stay local. They took my devices for analysis. Natalie pulled David into another room while the officers photographed my laptop. I heard hushed voices, tense whispers, the sound of someone crying. It wasn't Natalie. My phone rang as the police were leaving. The bank's fraud department. They had already flagged the suspicious activity before I called. Multiple large transfers within minutes. All funds routed to cryptocurrency exchanges. Classic laundering technique. The bank had frozen whatever remained in transit. They needed my in-person verification to proceed further. I drove straight to their regional office in Portland, 37 miles from the lake house. I made the trip in 31 minutes. I met with a security specialist named Marcus. He had worked financial crimes for 15 years. Nothing about my case surprised him. Inside job, he said, reviewing the data. Someone had your credentials and device access. Someone close. The transactions originated from my laptop, from the lake house IP address. Using my saved credentials, the digital fingerprints were unmistakable, but I hadn't made those transfers. Someone else had. I filed formal fraud claims for each account. I signed affidavits. I authorized full access to my digital history. Marcus assigned a specialized team to track the money. Cryptocurrency moves fast, he warned, but it also leaves traces. I called my business partner from the bank parking lot. Sarah needed to know why our supplier payment bounced, why our new office deposit would be delayed. I told her everything. She didn't hesitate. "We'll figure it out," she said. "We always do." Back at the lake house, police cars filled the driveway. Not local officers this time. State Financial Crimes Unit. They had brought digital forensics equipment. They established a perimeter around the property. This was no longer a simple theft report. David sat alone on the porch steps. His face was gray. His hands shook as he smoked a cigarette. He hadn't smoked since college. He wouldn't meet my eyes when I approached. "She said it was just borrowing," he whispered. "She promised we'd triple it and return everything within days." His voice cracked. "I gave her your laptop password. I watched her do it. I didn't stop her." Inside, investigators interviewed Natalie in the dining room. Her lawyer was already present. She had called him before the police even arrived. He specialized in white-collar crime defense. His retainer alone cost $10,000. Natalie somehow had access to that kind of money despite emptying my accounts. I declined to sit with David. I found the lead investigator instead. Detective Kaplan had 19 years of experience with financial fraud. She listened without interrupting as I detailed everything I knew about Natalie: the social media presence, the investment courses, the webinars with suspicious testimonials, the lavish lifestyle with no visible means of support, the constant talk of crypto returns that defied market trends. The pattern was familiar to Detective Kaplan. "We'll need access to your brother's accounts too," she said. I nodded. David wouldn't refuse. He was already breaking. My phone buzzed with an email notification. The bank had traced initial transfers to 3 different cryptocurrency exchanges, 2 domestic, 1 overseas. They had contacted each platform with subpoena requests. The recovery process had begun. I walked upstairs to the guest room I'd been using. I needed my backup hard drive. I kept meticulous records of all business transactions. Every invoice, every receipt, every tax document for the past 5 years. I hadn't brought them for this purpose, but they would prove useful now. The hard drive was missing from my suitcase. So was my passport, my social security card, copies of my business incorporation papers, items I always secured but never expected someone to steal from family property. I reported the missing items immediately. Detective Kaplan ordered a search of all rooms. 26 minutes later, an officer found my documents in Natalie's suitcase, hidden beneath designer clothes, alongside similar documents belonging to other family members. The situation escalated. What looked like simple theft now revealed identity theft components. Natalie had collected sensitive information from everyone in the family: social security numbers, account logins, copies of identification cards, a complete kit for financial takeover. David collapsed when they showed him the evidence. He hadn't known about this part. He thought it was just about my business money, just a temporary liquidity maneuver as Natalie had described it. Just a quick flip in a crypto arbitrage deal. Just another get-rich-quick scheme he'd been too weak to question. The FBI arrived by evening. Agent Wilson specialized in cryptocurrency fraud networks. He'd been tracking similar cases across 5 states. The method matched a pattern they were already investigating. The same digital fingerprints, the same money movement strategies, the same exit routes to unregulated exchanges. Natalie wasn't working alone. She was part of a sophisticated network, a mid-level player in a hierarchy of financial predators. They targeted families, small businesses, vulnerable individuals with liquid assets. They created elaborate personas to establish trust. They executed rapid strikes when the timing was optimal. Agent Wilson showed me photos of 6 other investment experts with different names but similar stories, different faces fronting the same operation, different victims across the country, same techniques, same scripts, same offshore accounts receiving the funds. I slept 3 hours that night. I woke to 17 new emails. The bank had frozen several receiving accounts. The cryptocurrency exchanges had identified specific wallets connected to the fraud. 2 exchanges agreed to reverse transactions still pending on their platforms. I drove back to Portland at dawn. I met with my business attorney at 7:15. We drafted emergency fund requests to our investors. We notified key clients about potential service disruptions. We documented everything for potential insurance claims. By noon, the bank confirmed recovery of $38,000, funds that hadn't cleared final transfers yet. Not everything, but a start. My business account would be restored first. Client obligations would be met. Operations could continue. My attorney connected me with a forensic accountant. Susan had 22 years of experience tracking financial crimes. She helped document every missing dollar, every unauthorized access, every digital breadcrumb needed for prosecution. David called 16 times that day. I answered on the 17th call. He was staying with our cousin in Seattle. Natalie had been taken into FBI custody. No bail recommendation. Flight risk designation. International connections. Access to hidden funds. The prosecutor was building a solid case. I listened to my brother cry. I didn't offer comfort. I asked questions instead. When did he first notice discrepancies in their finances? When did Natalie first request access to family information? When did he realize something wasn't right? His answers revealed patterns going back months. 3 days after the initial discovery, I received a call from Agent Wilson. They had searched Natalie's cloud storage accounts. They found spreadsheets tracking potential victims, family members, friends, business associates, each entry rated by liquid asset value and exploitation difficulty. My name had the highest value rating. The FBI had also found scripts, word-for-word guidelines for gaining trust, for creating financial FOMO, for isolating victims from their support networks, for justifying sudden fund transfers during once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. Natalie hadn't improvised her manipulation. She had followed a playbook. I met with Detective Kaplan and the district attorney. The case was expanding beyond my theft, identity fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy charges, interstate crime network implications. The prosecutor expected federal charges with mandatory minimum sentences. My testimony would be essential. 1 week after the theft, I received notification that $63,000 had been recovered, seized from domestic accounts, intercepted from exchange wallets, returned from payment processors that caught the fraud alerts. Not everything, but most of it. I filed restraining orders against Natalie. I changed every password. I froze my credit reports. I installed new security systems on all devices. I hired a cybersecurity consultant to harden my business infrastructure. I left nothing to chance. David texted daily updates about the divorce filing. Natalie had controlled all their accounts, all their passwords, all their communication devices. The extent of her dominance became clearer as he regained access to his own life. He had been both victim and accomplice. 2 weeks after the incident, Natalie's online empire began to collapse. Her social media accounts disappeared overnight. Her investment course website went offline. Her webinar registrations closed. Her followers, mostly purchase bots, vanished from view. Former clients started speaking out, people who had lost money following her investment advice, people who had taken her courses and found nothing of value, people who had been manipulated into similar situations. The pattern extended years back, under different names, in different states. I received a letter from Natalie's lawyer, a settlement offer, return of remaining funds in exchange for dropping charges. The prosecutor called it a desperate move. No deal would be considered. The evidence was overwhelming. The case would proceed. My business stabilized by the end of the month. The recovered funds covered immediate obligations. Our investors provided bridge financing for the rest. We secured the downtown office space as planned. We hired our first employees. Work became my sanctuary. David moved into my spare bedroom temporarily. Our conversations were brief at first. Functional exchanges about practical matters. Who would cook dinner when the bathroom was free? Which streaming services we still shared. Slow steps toward whatever relationship might be salvaged. 43 days after the theft, we received notification that Natalie had accepted a plea deal. Multiple federal charges, significant prison time, mandatory restitution payments. The FBI had leveraged her case to target higher-level operators in the network. The full scope of the operation was still being mapped. I testified at her sentencing hearing. I spoke about financial impact, about violated trust, about family wounds that would never fully heal. I looked her in the eyes the entire time. She showed no emotion. The judge ordered full restitution, maximum penalties under federal guidelines, no possibility of parole for 7 years, not nearly enough for what she had done, but something, a consequence, a record that would follow her forever. David attended the hearing but didn't speak. He signed divorce papers the same day. The process was streamlined due to criminal prosecution evidence. No contested assets, no shared property, a clean break from a relationship built entirely on manipulation and lies. The FBI investigation continued for 7 months. Natalie's fraud network spanned 14 states, 32 primary operators, over 200 victims, total financial damage exceeding $11 million. What happened to me was just one small piece of a much larger operation. I recovered 91% of my stolen funds eventually. The remaining 9% had disappeared through unregulated exchanges, converted to privacy coins, moved offline to cold storage wallets, gone forever. I accepted the loss and moved forward. My business not only survived but thrived in the aftermath. The experience forced me to implement enterprise-level security systems, military-grade encryption, multi-factor authentication protocols, regular penetration testing, measures that became selling points to larger clients concerned about their own digital vulnerability. We expanded to 7 employees by year's end. We moved to a larger office in the Pearl District. Our client list grew to include retailers with annual revenues exceeding $10 million. Crisis had become opportunity. Weakness had transformed into strength. I started offering free workshops on digital security for small business owners. Basic protection strategies, red flags to watch for, resources for recovery after attacks. My story resonated with people. My experience provided credibility that theoretical knowledge couldn't match. David remained in my spare room for 4 months. He found a therapist specializing in relationship trauma and financial abuse. He attended sessions twice weekly. He confronted patterns of behavior stretching back to childhood. He began rebuilding his identity separate from Natalie's influence. Our relationship healed slowly. We established new boundaries. We created new traditions, Sunday brunches at a local diner, monthly hiking trips in the Columbia River Gorge, small, consistent connections, replacing the damaged foundation we'd lost. He returned to freelance video editing, projects for local businesses at first, then larger clients as his portfolio expanded. He lived frugally. He rebuilt his savings methodically. He declined dates for the first year. He wasn't ready. He needed to know himself again first. The prosecutor contacted me 14 months after the arrest. Natalie was providing information about higher-level operators in exchange for consideration during sentencing review. Names, bank accounts, communication channels. The network was unraveling from within. I felt nothing when I heard this. No satisfaction. No closure. No sense of justice. Just factual acknowledgement that consequences were occurring as they should. The emotional wound had scarred over, not healed completely, but no longer bleeding at every touch. I visited the lake house 1 year after the incident. The family had avoided it since that weekend. The property sat empty through 4 seasons. Dust covered the furniture. Mail piled up on the entry table. Time had paused inside those walls while continuing everywhere else. I opened windows to release stale air. I cleaned each room methodically. I replaced the desk where my laptop had been compromised. I changed the locks on every door. I installed security cameras at entry points. I reclaimed the space inch by inch. My parents had left the property jointly to David and me. We discussed selling it initially. Too many bad memories, too much negative energy. But as months passed, perspective shifted. This place had hosted 4 decades of family history. One terrible weekend shouldn't erase that legacy. We renovated instead. New paint throughout, updated kitchen appliances, modern furniture replacing worn pieces, physical transformation reflecting our emotional evolution. We didn't erase the past, we built something new around it. The Financial Crimes Unit called on the 2-year anniversary of the theft. They had closed the final cases connected to Natalie's network. 37 individuals serving combined sentences, exceeding 300 years. Over $8 million recovered and returned to victims, a comprehensive dismantling of the entire operation. I thanked them for the update. I saved the case number in my records. I closed that file both literally and figuratively. The incident would always be part of my story, but no longer the defining chapter. My business crossed the $1 million revenue threshold that same month. 23 employees, 3,000 clients. A second office opening in Seattle. Success built on lessons learned through hardship. Growth emerging from damage. David met someone new at a photography workshop. A landscape architect named Julia. Their relationship developed slowly. Coffee meetings, museum visits, hiking excursions, careful steps by someone who had learned to watch for warning signs, who had developed healthy suspicion, who valued transparency above all. I expanded my security workshops into a formal program, 4 sessions covering digital hygiene, financial protection, identity safeguards, recovery strategies, free for participants, funded through my business profits, my way of turning personal pain into community protection. The local business journal published a profile about my journey, from victim to advocate, from target to protector. The article generated speaking invitations, conference panels, podcast interviews, opportunities to spread awareness about evolving threats in the digital age. 3 years after the theft, I received final notification that my case was officially closed, all possible funds recovered, all legal proceedings completed, all documentation archived. The system had worked as designed, however imperfectly. I was one of the fortunate ones. Not everyone got their money back. Not everyone saw their abusers face consequences. Not everyone found ways to rebuild. The privilege of my outcome wasn't lost on me. My education, my resources, my support system, all factors that helped me navigate what destroyed others completely. I still check my bank accounts every morning. I still use separate devices for financial transactions. I still maintain rigorous security protocols that others find excessive. Habits formed through trauma don't disappear when the danger passes. They become part of your operating system. David calls every Sunday evening, sometimes to discuss lake house maintenance, sometimes to share career updates, sometimes just to maintain connection. Our relationship found new form. Different from before, not better or worse, just authentic to who we became through shared pain. Natalie will complete her minimum sentence in 2 more years. I don't speculate about what comes after. Her chapter in our story has ended. Whatever life she builds following incarceration exists separately from mine. I waste no energy wondering about it. The lessons remain. Trust requires verification. Family can include betrayal. Security demands vigilance. Recovery takes unexpected paths. And sometimes when everything is stolen, you discover what can never be taken away.